customers hate contact forms. If your website has a contact form, it's more than likely missing out on a lot of money. Now today I want to show you how you can build an interactive contact form that will tell the user exactly your pricing based on their configuration. And once they know the pricing, once they like it, they will send their email in to get more information from you. Now, this makes sure that the leads that you're getting are pre-qualified. They are already, aware of your pricing and you only get the good ones. And people like things instantly, especially in the age of AI. So it definitely helps win their trust faster. So let's build an interactive pricing contact form with a real-time calculator where they can see instantly the price change as they change configuration. So let's get right started with that. So now what we need to do is we need to have a Zapier account. Zapier allows us to get the information from the website and to send an email to ourselves with that information so that we can reply to that and reach out to that customer email address. So that's something you want to have an account. You also want to have a Nordcraft account. Now, you may ask yourself the question, what is Nordcraft? It's very similar to Wix, to Webflow, to Framer, to WordPress, with the little difference that it offers you more dynamic functionality, meaning you can connect with Zapier without, having a native integration with every little bits and piece. So it gives you an open protocol to connect with external data and, to make that interactive. And we can do calculations, and this is what we will need for our pricing form. So let's take a look at that. Now, what we need to do first is we need to build that form. So inside of here, I will just add a form element so we can submit the data. In that form element, I'm going to add an input. And, this will be, for example, the user email after, kind of like they got their price. So let's start doing the contact information part first. Inside of here, I'm just going to style this form input to be like a little bit gray in the background. Ooh, I'm styling the form, not the form input. Let's go on the form input. Let's make this a little bit gray, and we'll make the text inside of here black, and that works perfect. So now I got that input. Now, this one will need to be an email input, so I'm going to do type email, and then I'm going to add a placeholder, e.g example.com. There you go. Now I got my input. Now I want to bind this email input with, a variable. Now, what is a variable? A variable is a place where you store data from that form input. So I'm going to create a variable called email that will start out empty, that will then be linked with that input. So I go into the input, I go on attributes, and I go to bind to variable. I will click on email, and now it's linked. Now when I go inside of here and do hey at nocodeprocode.com, I can take a look at the variable, and now the variable has the data. Now, this is very important. It's a very important key concept to understand, because as that changes, as we clear it, we get that data in the variable. And this is the data that we then can send to Zapier to then process that data. So that's very important. Now we actually want to build the calculator. How do we do that? First of all, we need to know our pricing. Let's say we have quantity pricing that will then be revealed, and maybe there are many options. So let's build something like this. Let's start by adding a div block over the form that will just be the calculator. Now in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another div block in here, which is like a container element that has a button in it where the user can select multiple options, right? And let's say we have a few options. Let's say you can customize this to how you want it to be structured. Now, we can set up a few options. We want to have a list of options, for example, with prices. So what I want to do, I want to create a variable here called, let's call this set up options, right? And I can click on this initial value, and now I can build my options in a data structure. And we want to take an array, which is a list. So we'll take the array, and then I will add an object in here. An object is an item, right? So now I can set a key that can be name. That will be the name for the user. The name can be, let's call that blue, right? And then we will do price. The price of the blue one will be $50 for blue tint, right? And then we'll do it like a Tesla where white is free. White will be $0. And then we can add a base price, right? So this is kind of like, I'll make white on top. Then we got blue, and then we got black, which will be $100 extra. And then we got red, which will be $75 extra, right? So we do have that calculator here. There you go. So we have those options. And you see we have a list also with their prices. So now we have them in a variable. This is where we store data, and we can also store lists of data, as you can see, and we can visually build them. And now I can go on this button. I can two-finger click or double click on it, repeat, and I can repeat it based on the options. And now you see I'm rendering all those options here dynamically. Now I can click on the text inside of here, go on the formula builder here, and I will take the item name. Now as you can see, I got the colors here. White, blue, black, red. Now, what I will do is I will take this div block and I will make it a width of 100%. And what I will do, this one here, we have the options in here. Let's actually move the form inside of here. So it's under here. And then this one will be width 100%. And we will add a max width of 35 rem. Or 25 rem, or 20 rem. There you go. Okay, now I got this, and now I want this to go to the side. So we're going to take row, this will make it go to the side, and then we'll do 0.25 rem, space between those. So now I have my options here, right? So I have my colors. Now, how do we select the color when we click on it? This is actually very interesting. Just for test purposes, let's just add a heading inside of here. And let's create a variable. Let's create a variable called selected color, right? And that will, we can have a default, for example. Default could be white because it's free. There you go. And now we have that in here, the default, right? So now what we can do, that will be the default value. So let's link this heading with the selected color, showing us the default value, right? Now, what we want to do, or white, we have it written in here with a cap, so we want that to be also with the caps, right? So it equals. Okay, now we got white. That's the color. Now, when we have this repeat option here, we can highlight it visually based on what the user has selected. So I will first style it a little bit. Let's make those also like grade 200, right? And then let's make this, let's make this black. And let's give it like 0.75 rem side padding, and then we'll make it 8 pixels border radius so it looks nice. Okay, perfect. Now we want to create a class so we can visually highlight it. Let's create a class called selected, right? And then we can create a style for the selected class, just like this, and then the background will be, let's make it black. And then the text will be white. Okay, now we need to make the selected class conditional. So I can click on this fx to make the class conditional. I will take selected color needs to equal the item name. So now as you can see, because this option is white, it will be white because it's the selected one. There you go. Now, what we can do is when I go on this button, I want to adjust the option that is selected. So I go on events, I go on click. This will, register the click on that element, and I will update the selected color to be, we'll go on fx and we'll take item name. And now, when I click on blue, it will be blue, black, and as you can see, it updates what we have selected. Now, I'm not a fan of hovers, so I'm just going to remove the hover class. There you go. Now I can select between those options. Now what's happening though is we can also calculate the price to it. So we're going to make a very simple calculator here, but you know, you get the idea. Let's add a 0.5 rem to this. And then also we'll go on this form, on this input here, and we'll also make this width 100% so it nicely aligns. There you go. So what we're going to do is we have the color options, right? We can do a similar thing for something else and make the calculator a little bit more advanced. So let's duplicate this and we can have another thing going on. So what I can even do is I can just copy the setup options and paste that variable so I get a copy of it. And then I'm going to call that, let's do, what else could we do? Interior. Let's do leather options. There you go. We'll go on FX. And then the name will be white, what kind of leather? Let's do horse leather. The price will be 250, and then we'll do fake leather. Oh, fake leather, which will be we'll do $25. Okay, it's very cheap, but there you go. So we got like 2 options here to select from. Okay, there you go. And then default will be fake leather, for example. So I can create a variable here called selected leather, or you can also pre-select the most expensive one, definitely. We got now the selected leather variable, and now I will go on this repeat list, and I'm just changing this to come from the leather options. So now as you can see, we got those options. Now we just need to go on the selected one and change that to come from selected leather. And then on this event, we just need to update this to update the leather, the selected leather variable, which stores the data, with the item name. Okay, so now I should be able to adjust those. Okay, so now we can set the options and we get this data in variables. I can also duplicate this heading just for visual demonstration purposes, and also link this with the selected leather. So as you can see, now I can adjust those things and I will get an instant quote. There you go. And it will adjust those. So now how do we do the calculation? That's a good question. We now need to do the calculation for this. So we want to actually calculate this based on, you know, those selections here. So what we can do is we can create a formula. This will show the price. So let's call this price. And inside of here, we can now calculate all those things together. Now we can also set up a base price. You can either just hard code this in here or put it in the variable. I like putting it in a variable. So let's call base price. Base price will be $1,000. There you go. Now we can go to the formula and we can create that price. So let's take the base price and now we need to add to it. So let's add to the base price the appropriate leather option. Now how do we get that? Let's go to leather options. So we'll take all the leather options and now we need to find the one that is selected in the selected leather. I'm going to use the find filter and look up based on the name. So the name needs to equals the selected leather. This will give me this whole item. So I'm just going to add a get filter to only get the price of the item. There you go, $25. Now I will do the same thing. I can just clone it here and I'm just going to change this to be the setup options, and then I'm just going to take this from the selected color, which will give me the price for the color. And now as you can see, this formula will give me the quote, the instant quote. So now inside of here, you know, we can make the UI look nicer, but let's just go to this heading here and have this come from this formula, which will then give us the price. So what we can do is we can take this, and then inside of here, I'm just going to add a span. I'm going to move it over the text. And inside of here, I'm just going to put a $sign in there. This will calculate now, for me, the number. Now, you may want to format the number. So after we are done in this formula here, you can just add format number, which will then format the number. We can put our locale in here, which would be -US for me. And that should do the thing. There you go. We probably want to turn it into a string so it gets properly shown with that. So we need to turn it into text. Oh, it seems like Nordcraft is not updating that. So, you know, that's, let's try that. String. Oh yeah, okay. So if I turn it again into string, we should be fine. Then we get the proper formatting displayed. There you go. Nice. Okay, so let's see how the price adjusts as we are adjusting the options. If I go to horse leather, you see the price goes up by by 225. Let's see if that is correct. Horse leather. How much was horse leather? Leather options. Horse leather is 250. Oh, it doesn't go up by, it's just, this is 25, this is 250. Okay, makes sense. This makes sense, yeah. And then I go to blue, yeah, the price adjusts. Black is the most expensive one. Yeah, so we have this instant quote right inside of here. Beautiful. So we're calculating this. Now we want to get their email. Now we can do this, we can make it very cool. So we have this form. Let's just get this form outside of here for a moment, okay? And let's just start taking this here. And let's just kind of like build this into a nice interface. So we'll make this 1 rem by 1 rem. There you go. And then I'm going to give it like a gray 50 background. I'm going to do border 1 rem. And then I'm going to add a border of 2 pixels with gray 200. Okay, so I got a little box here, right? So that is kind of like the first step. And then we can go inside of here. And I can add an H2, like a little paragraph. And then over here, I can say, get an instant quote. Get an instant quote. I could wrap this in a div block. And I can add a paragraph inside of here. And I can say, no email needed unless you like it. No email needed unless you like it. Okay, then we can go inside of here and give it actually a little bit more space. There you go. That looks nice. Okay, get an instant quote. No email needed unless you like it. Okay, perfect. So we got this quote calculator here. We can collapse those. And now inside of here, I'm going to add a div block to kind of like put the price in a nice box. So make it width 100%. We'll center the content. We'll give it 1 rem by 1 rem. I'm going to make this background white. I'm going to go to the border radius 0.5 rem. And then I'm going, 0.5 rem. And I'm going to add a border of gray 200. I'm going to copy this H1 inside of here, paste it, and now I get my quote, just like this. It's an instant quote. And then I can add a paragraph if I want. Saying, that's it, no hidden costs. Something like this. So I get my instant quote, just like this, where I can adjust it. And then inside of here, I can add a button, and I can make that button look very nice with the 100%. Height, let's make it 3 rem. We'll center the content. We'll make it 8 pixels. We'll make that one black. I like that style. Looks very nice. We'll make that white. And then I will say, we can do something like get more details or something like this if they do like the quote, right? And then how do we set this now up that we have a pop-up or something come up where they can put in their information? That's actually pretty simple. So we got that here, we got it looking nice. We'll go on the hover, we'll remove that. So now we have this instant quote. Take a look at that. And they can adjust it and they can see how the price changes, which adds transparency to your customers, which is pretty nice. That's it, no hidden costs. Now, what happens when I get more details? Right now, nothing happens, but it's very simple for us to add that. So we want to copy this form, which we already have, and I'm just going to delete it, keeping in mind I have it copied, and I want to build a pop-up. So let's add a div here, put it on top, and let's go on layout here, make that fixed, and then I'm doing inset 0 pixels by 0 pixels by 0 pixels by 0 pixels. I need to click enter on 0 pixels. There you go. And now what I want to do is I want to go in here and I want to go in here and I want to give it like a little background. So let's click on the background here and let's give it some background. Look at that. Oh, and we're giving it some background. And yeah, like a little bit of background here. We are back. I apologize for that. But now important is we need to have a z-index of 99. So this should be over this form here, just like this. Very nice. So we have it coming up like a pop-up. And then in this pop-up, I'm going to add 1 rem side padding. 1 rem side padding will center the content. I will paste my form. Okay, and now we're going to make the form look very nice. So let's make it width 100%. And we'll add, I need to click enter. Okay, and I need to do max width 20 rem, like this one. Right, we can do 22 rem. And then inside of here, we'll just kind of like start building the form. So I'm going to give it 1 rem side padding, 1 rem top and bottom padding. I'm going to give it a background here. We can make it a white background actually, that looks good. Let's give it a border radius of 1 rem. There you go. And now we need to add like a little border to this. Let's make it gray 200. And now we got this inside of here. And I think I need to stop the camera again because our internet connection or something is cutting off. Okay, so I think we're back. Let's continue with this. And we have it nicely styled. We'll put their email in here. And now I want to add like a little CTA. So I'm adding a div block here, putting it over the input. And then I'm going to just add my H3, like a little smaller one. How should we, let's call this, let's get in touch. Okay, and we're going to add a paragraph. And then in here, I'm going to say, no, let's see. Let's put something like, we are here to, let's do like, we are here to get this deal closed. There you go, it's good enough. Okay, let's go to the form, add 1 rem. So we add some space to this here. Very nice. We're here to get this deal closed. We can make it even a little bit nicer if I do like a 0.15 rem or something. There you go. Let's get in touch. We are here to get this deal closed. Very nice. We got this input here. And now we will just ask for the email. You can ask for their phone number if you want as well. I'm just going to only ask for their email. Let's add this a button in here. We'll make that button width 100%, height 3 rem. Okay, and then I'm going to make this 3 pixels. Background is going to be as dark as I can. And then I'm going to say contact us. There you go. And maybe I want to add additional details. So let's wrap this in an element. So I kind of like can structure it a little bit. Let's add a text area. Let's make this text area with the 100%. Let's make it like 10 rem height or 7 rem height. Okay. And I need to make this 100%. We need to click enter. And let's make this 0.5 rem. Okay. And then I'm just going to pick the same color like I picked here. Nice. Perfect. And then I'm going to make this dark. Perfect. And now I'm going to add a placeholder. The placeholder will be additional details. Optional. There you go. Additional details. Optional. Beautiful. So now we need to also create a variable for details. So I'm just going to call this details. That will be empty. And I will go to the text area, bind it with the details variable. And now when I go inside of here, hey at NoCodeProCode.com, details hello 1 2 3. I can now take a look at details. We have the data inside of here. And we also have the price in the price formula being calculated here. This is a nice thing about NoCraft compared to Webflow. It lets you do formulas without having to write code. I mean, it takes a little bit to get used to the editor, but it was way simpler than writing JavaScript. So now we can go here, contact us. They can click on there, and then it's super simple. And then we will just connect this now with Zapier. So now that we have all this data together, we want to integrate it with Zapier. So let's go to Zapier. We'll have already a Zap, and let's add a webhook. This is how we will receive data into our Zap. So let's make the trigger a catch hook. We'll go on continue. We'll continue. We don't need this. And now we're going to listen for it. So let's copy this webhook URL. Let's go to APIs in NoCraft, which is where we will do our integrations. We are going to paste this integration URL inside of here. And now, as you can see, we want to do a post request actually. Let's call this integration Zapier. And we need to send data to it. We do this in the body. In the body, I will define the body using fx. I will send it as an object. So we have a structured data. And in here, I'm going to give it names. So let's call this email. And let's go here, email. And then I'm going to add details. And I'm going to add details. And I'm going to add color. And you can make that custom to your liking. Now we need to get the color. And I get that from selected color. And then we'll do leather. I'll be getting that from selected leather. And then we're going to do price. And I'm going to get that from the price formula. There you go. And we don't need necessarily dollars on there. So you can add it, but it's not needed. So inside of here, we got now this data, and we want to try running this request here with the test API so we can fetch it into Zapier to work with it. So now we got that fetched in Zapier. Let's do a test trigger. And let's just see, I think it's request B. Yeah, you see how we have all this data here. This is perfect. Let's continue with the selected record. Now we'll need to do an action. That action will just be like an email, where Zapier allows us to send an email, send outbound email, right? And we'll continue with that. And this will now go to our email address. So in here, I'm going to put my email inside of here. That will be hey@NoCodeProCode.com. Subject will be new lead from website. Then body HTML or plain text. We can do that very simple, and that will be just, you can just structure that. So we have in here email colon, and I can click on plus, and now I can take their email. Okay, and then I can go on the next line, and I can write details, and I can put details in here. And then I go on the next line, and I'm going to write color, and I'm going to put the color in here. Then I'm going to write leather, and I'm going to put the leather in here. And I'm going to write price, and I'm going to put the price in here. That's it. Beautiful. No attachment. From name, my website, reply to. This will be cool. When we reply to this, we want to reply to the inbound email. So when we reply to our lead emails, we will reply to the customer, right? And then CC, we could add ourselves, but that is optional. Force line breaks, we can skip those. Let's continue, and let's test the step. Now we're testing the email. Okay, let's take a look if I got it. Okay, and I think everything is slowly getting slower because it's very hot today. I apologize for that. Okay, let's take a look at my email. Did I got an email? I think it might went to the spam, or let's take a look. Retest step to reply to. Oh, it went to a completely went to an old email. Let's data in, data out. Let's retest the step, and it went. No, I think it went to the wrong email. So let's go back to configure. This needs to be here. So I think we're good. Reply to. We just need to try it live to get it to my current email. So let's publish that. Now it's publishing it, and now we can go home. Perfect. So now we have the Zap in here, and it now should work. Let's try it out. Let's try calling this, and you see it was a success. So I'll be checking my email right now. Let's take a look if something goes through. It's connecting. Let's hope this works. Yeah, and as you can see, look at that. I just got an email from my website with the lead information, so I can start the project, or I can reply to the lead. That's how you set those things up. It's pretty cool, pretty neat. So now what happens when this was successful, and how do we submit this? There are a few things. First of all, this input is required. So we want to add required true. Required true. So now if I were to not have this be filled out and I were to click contact us, it will say please fill out this field because it is required. Now this one will not be required, so I'm just going to leave it here, but this will need to be required. So as you can see, if I click this button, it wants to submit the form. So we need to go to the form here, and on form, on form submit, we are going to do prevent default. You want to keep that. And then we're going to call Zapier. Now, if Zapier was successful, we want to go to a website URL. So we go to URL and we go to /success. And now we need to create that page. And now we need to also make this pop-up be functional. So I'm going to create a variable, show pop up. That will be by default false. And now here's a little hack that I'm doing to make it dismissible if you click outside of it. I'm going to add a div block over this form that will be width 100%, height 100%, and that will be absolute, so it will be behind this. And then when I click on here, I will do show pop-up to set it to be false. And then I will take this div here, which is the pop-up, and I will show and hide it to be based on if show pop-up is false, it will make it false, right? And then when I click on the button to get more details, I will go to show pop-up and I will make this be true. So now when I calculate my price, I will get more details. It will show the pop-up. And when I click outside, it will hide the pop-up. Look at that. Now we may want to animate it because we do like animations. For that, we can go and create a style for starting style. And starting style will be, for example, if you want to make a fade in, opacity 0, and then the default will have a transition, not a translation, a transition for opacity of 300 milliseconds. So now when I click on here, so you can, oh my God, what did I do? Let's reload the page. Sometimes you need to just reload the page. If I click in here, now you see it animates in and I can close it. Isn't that beautiful? We got a nice little neat animation here. And now let's see if it actually works. Let's first actually create a success page so we're not going nowhere. So let's create a page called success. Let's create this page and we're going to make it with 100%, very simple, just for educational video purposes. One rem, background white. Let's add an H2. We will email you in 24 hours. Something like that. You can make it look nicer. But that should be it. Let's try it out. Let's adjust the price, get more details, put in our email, hey@nocodeprocode.com. Let's say I need it fast ASAP. Let's click on contact us. And now as you see, it blocked the navigation, which is something it only does in the editor. But it should have worked, and I should have received an email from my website with a new inbound lead. There you go. Just like that. It's easy as pie. Let's try it out on the live site now. I can configure those settings. Let's get more details. Put my email inside of here. Let's click on contact us. And now we will email you in 24 hours. That was a success. And now again, I got already another lead from my website. And that is how you build a custom price quote calculator without writing a single line of code using no-code tools. If you want to learn no more about building with no-code tools, I would highly suggest you to take a look at my program, NoCodeProCode.com, where we help you build stuff that you would normally need code with, that you would normally need to build with code, fully using no-code tools and plugins. So if you want to build cool stuff using no-code, and you want to make stuff that usually can't be built using no-code tools, you want to extend the functionality of no-code, definitely take a look at NoCodeProCode.com. We are solving the hardest 10% when it comes to no-code integrations. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate that, and let me know in the comments if this was helpful to you. Take care.